Hey there, this is Art and Such, and this is my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Wesley Crusher from Star Trek The Next Generation. I'm going to tell you quickly I always associate him with his gray outfit, but if you like the traditional red and black, it's the same as Picard. And very briefly here, it looks like this. You'll start with skin tone bands, double banding all of this. Come down to the shoulder pegs with blacks, go down with 3 sets of double red in the center, followed by 2 sets of black, 3 sets of red on the left, and go to the end of the loom with black, and on the right side 2 reds, 2 sets of red, and the rest black. Okay, so if you prefer that, that is your layout. For our gray outfit, I will be using a couple of silver bands for the neck and the shoulders. I think it gives it a little stiffness, gives it that turtleneck, and it also adds a second tone. I'm using a couple of gold for his comm badge. I know that he has a silver one, but it blends in far too much. I'm using gray for the rest of the outfit, skin tone for the hands and the face. I'm using brown from the skin tone set for the hair. And for the eyes, I had wanted to use brown beads. Unfortunately, I don't have any handy. You can use brown bands, but I find that they tend to blend in when they're the same color or similar color. You can also use a white one and use a Sharpie to draw on the pupils later. So we're good to start. We're going to make the arms. If you're doing the red uniform, you'll use red. Otherwise, we're going to use gray. And we're starting with a single band, wrapping it 3 times around the hook, and pulling this onto 5 sets of double bands. Take 2 gray bands, put them together, put it at the end of the hook with a little tension, and bring your wrapped skin tone band on top. We'll put this back on, and then we'll take another 2 bands and bring the 4 loops off of our hook and on top of those. That's 2 sets. This is 3, 4, and 5, and we need to make a second one in just a second here. You can leave this on your hook, you can put it aside, but it should be far enough out of the way on your hook as well. I'm going to take another skin tone for our next arm, wrap it 3 times on the hook, and we'll pull this as well onto 5 sets of double gray bands. This is 1. Trying to find ones that aren't too stretched out here. This is 2. Between the Tin Man and Gru, I used a lot of gray and did a lot of experimenting, so they're kind of in rough shape. That's 3 sets, 4 sets, and our last one. And this is really the only kind of side piece we need to make. We're going to come right to our loom now, and we have it in our standard position, middle row raised above the other 2. You're going to use 4 gray bands and bring them from your top center peg to your second center peg. This makes it so that our turtleneck collar doesn't get too loose there. I'm using 2 silver bands to come from the second center peg to the second right peg, and 2 silver bands from the second center peg to the second peg on the left. I have 5 sets of double gray bands coming down the center row, and this reaches right about to the middle of your loom, your 7th peg down, we'll stop it. On the sides, we go all the way down with sets of double grays, but I chose to stop 1 peg shy of the end, just so his legs are a little shorter than the rest of the crew. We're going to make some feet. I am using black, but you can use any color that suits you. So take 2 single black bands, wrap them twice around a hook, and we'll pull that on top of 2 other black bands. This will go on the second peg from the end where we have that last gray band. So stretch it out a little bit and just check that you're getting all those bands on top. And this also works as a cap band, which is kind of handy. We'll do this again, 2 black bands wrapped twice around the hook, and this gets pulled onto 2 black bands. Close it up, even it out a little, and this goes on that second peg from the bottom on the right side, the other side. We're going to do some cap bands. I will start at the top. The third peg to the third peg, raise it up in a triangle formation above the third peg on the center. This is just a single stretched across. We'll repeat that once underneath. So a single from the fourth to the fourth and raised up over the fourth peg in the center. Now I seem to recall Wesley is having kind of broad shoulders, so I tried to bring the lower body in a little bit. If you are more comfortable this way, you can keep doing loose singles 2 more times. I am going to double my next one over. And for the last one here, what I did is, I'm going to bring it across and we're going to make it into a kind of a 1.5. So twist it at the end and pull it back over, but just to the center. This keeps it from being too tight or too loose. We can add our arms on the second peg from the top on either side. And then we'll be ready to loop up. So we can do the center first. We want the silver pieces to show up on top. And for this, I'm just going to keep reaching under and taking each set of 2 gray bands, which are curved. The curve should be facing this way so that you get your hook on, and we're just pulling them up. Pretty standard looping. We'll stop at the second peg from the top. And now I'm going to go back under the shoes and get my bottom grays and loop all the way up the side. Doesn't matter which side you start on, we're going to do both of them. We go straight up. When you do get to your cap bands, put your hook down underneath and only grab the bottom 2. And we just keep looping up. Push back your cap bands, get under your arm, turn it to the side if you need, and we're going to take those 2 silvers, which will be a little bit stiff, so don't worry, just take your time. Make sure you're getting both of them. I see one of mine has got a little bit tangled here. I'm just giving it a couple of tugs to see if I can see where it got to. And there we are. Alright. And we're going to go back to the other foot. Loop right up. You can see I'm kind of holding my loom down as I go, trying to keep my hand out of the way, but this is for also for the sake of keeping it sturdy. Remember to push back your cap bands. Your hook is always, the open part of your hook is always pointed away from you. And the last one at the top, our 2 silvers. Get under your grays, push them all back. Bring your 2 silvers up to the center. And finish looping the center. We need to get 4 gray bands from under all those silvers. You can take them out one at a time if that's easier. Now before we remove this, I'm going to take a silver band, wrap it once onto my hook, and then put my hook through the top bands on that top peg and remove the body from the loom. I'm going to slide my 2 silver pieces over the gray ones. And then we have a nice little turtleneck. You can kind of tug that down into place. For our face, I'm going to see if I can do this quickly so we can get it in one video for you. 2 brown bands from our top peg on the center to our top peg on the right, and 2 coming down the opposite direction. 1 set of double brown bands, 2 brown bands on either side. 1 set of skin tone bands on either side. I'll hold this up for you in just 1 second. We'll do 3 sets of double bands down the center, right from the top, and this will finish just below the other 2 sides. 2 bands from our 3rd peg on the right to our 4th in the center, and 2 in from the other direction. We're going to do a quick cap band from our 3rd peg to our 3rd over the 3rd in the center. I'm going to use a trick Kate Schultz shows in her videos, where we take a single skin tone band, wrap it 2 or 3 times, and we're going to place this from the 2nd to the 2nd, right where our eye will go. For the eyes, as I said, I'm using beads, so I'm going to thread those onto my dental floss. You may have beads with a larger hole, in which case you can probably just put them onto your hook. If you do have a smaller hole, this is a very effective way to get your beads on quickly. We put the dental floss through and then through our band, and we kind of bring it around and it comes back through our beads a 2nd time. And this will stretch from our 2nd peg to our 2nd peg. We're going to separate the eyes and bring one up over the 2nd peg on the center, one of those 2 bands. We can place our body on. We have a lot of bands there from the neck, just make sure you get them all. We're going to loop everything back to where it came from. So top 2 bands go to the left, the next 2 bands should be coming to the right, and then we can loop all the way up the center. Come back into that 3rd peg from the top. You're going to take the bottom 2 bands and loop them up. Get your bottom 2 browns and loop those up. And loop your last 2 to the center. On the right side, come under those bands, take the bottom 2, loop them up. Push back your caps and get your 2 browns, loop them up, and last 2 to the center. We're going to take a single band, pull it through all the bands on our top peg, and create a slip knot. Remove this all from your loom. Now this securing band can be tucked away in the back and secured with a C-clip. You can weave it in as tightly as you like. I think I've got just enough time to show you the com badge. Okay, we're going to do it just like the others. Come through the back of the body with your hook around the upper right chest here, just under your silver bands. Put a single gold onto the end of your hook and pull it back. We'll come back to the front, closer to the side, and replace this. Keep a little tension. Pull this back through. Sorry, this part's really hard to show. I'm doing my best though. You're going to put one end over the other. Go back through from around the same spot that you first went through, so that we're coming up at the top of our line. Put your 2nd band on and pull it through. And now we go towards the middle. He's upside down now, but that's about the middle of his chest. You'll put your band on again and pull it back through to the front. Again, put one over the other. And you can use a gray band if you like. You can either put a C-clip on here or use a gray band to keep it from getting too tight. Put your gray band through, one end over the other, slip it under some of your other bands, and you can secure it on your C-clip. And this is the front. And this is our Wesley Crusher. And I thank you for watching. please check out the rest of my crew.